Welcome to another episode of Well Seasoned. My name is Brian Paulson. And you are
At Janos.
right on, baby. We're two retired chefs with over 100 years experience combined.
Empty nesters who cook just about every night for each of our wives.
Now we're cooking for two instead of 200, but we still think like restaurant chefs. We think about seasonality of ingredients. We think about the best ingredients that we can buy. And we also think about utilizing everything that's in our refrigerator.
So with Well Seasoned, we want to appeal to cooking enthusiasts.
We also want to appeal to people that might want to hear what it was like to spend 50 years in a professional kitchen. The ups and downs.
With this episode of Well Seasoned, we are going to hit Brian's sweet spot. And as many of you know, Brian, master charcuterie, master butcher, and well-known author, and considered one of the country's most well-trained sausage makers. And you wrote the first book, Charcuterie, and it just became so popular. Brian, can you talk about the book, how it came about, and why do you think it became so successful?
Well, you threw me there in the beginning. I thought you were going to call me a master baker.
No, I would never call you that.
Okay. So yeah, the book, I was teaching charcuterie at Schoolcraft College level, and they mandated that we write a handout for the students. And I thought to myself, why do these guys get it for free? Why? Why? That's the entrepreneurial side of me. So Roman had called me about something else, and I told him about this. He said we should do a charcuterie book, and I said, well, yeah, well let's do that. He was published. I would never was published before. We were turned down by 5 houses. Nobody at that time could even pronounce charcuterie in America. And basically, I used my lab manual, and I built the book off of that. And the book got a slow start. Like, how many did we sell the first year? Like 1,200, right? And now the last count is still in print. We're at 485,000.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And Roman read an article in the New York Times that said it was the most stolen cookbook in America, which means the chef would buy the book, right, and use it in his kitchen, and one of his cooks would steal it, and then he'd have to rebuy it. So that's good for sales. And I think it just hit at the right time. I mean, we were not geniuses about it or anything. It hit the right time in American cooking where the farm to table movement was hitting and everybody was interested in getting back to their roots. And Ed, I know you agree with me on this, that the charcuterie has a depth of soul. It's a soulful cooking. And most great chefs look at charcuterie as kind of like home, makes them feel it's like their comfort food. But what I love the most is when I travel or something like that, and they'll bring me my book to sign, which is a great privilege. Of course I always do. And this guy brings me a copy of my book, and there's blood on it, and the pages are torn. And he doesn't look me in the eye, and he kind of leans over and says, "Would you just sign this?" I stood up and I hugged him. He goes, "What?" I said, "This is a badge of honor. What that tells me, you're using the book. All the hard work I put into it, you're using it. And a tattered cookbook is the highest compliment you can give an author, that's for sure." So we're going to be using one of the recipes in the sausage episode that's in the book. It's a fresh sausage, sweet Italian.
That's a great sausage to start. If any of our viewers, listeners haven't done any sausages, it's a great one to start. We're going to do a little pork butchery, which is Brian's specialty. Brian's going to show us, this is a pork butt. And Brian, why do you call it a pork butt?
It
comes from the shoulder.
It's the shoulder.
It's kind of confusing.
There's so much lore into it, but they call it Boston butt too, right?
Yeah.
So they was like cut the pig, and it's the shoulder. It was the first muscle that went into the barrel. So it was the butt of the barrel.
Oh,
in
okay.
Chicago, and by the time we got to Boston, they said the last thing out was the butt.
Okay.
That's, I don't know, but it is the shoulder. It's the top part. The lower shoulder would be the picnic, the belly, the loin, and the ham.
So does this have the bone in it?
No, it doesn't have the bone.
So you're going to show us the copa muscle right here.
If it didn't have the bone, it would be part of the shoulder blade, which is right here.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is a bone that is held onto the carcass through connective tissue.
Okay.
So it's a free-flowing joint like this. And you could take a knife underneath the armpit of the front leg of the pig and take the whole thing off. So that's why it's cut like this. Now, the shoulder In European style butchery, they do seam butchery. They follow the seams and have specific cuts. They break the animal down into 8 major pieces.
Okay.
Where the USDA does 5.
Okay.
Okay, shoulder, picnic, loin, belly, and ham.
Right.
We don't count the hocks. The Europeans do the copa, the spalla, which is the shoulder, lardo, which is the back fat,
Okay.
the pancetta, which is the belly, the lanza, which is the loin, lanza, the prosciutto, which is the ham,
Okay.
the trim, which would be salumi. Is that 7 or 8? I forget.
I wasn't counting.
Anyhow, there's 8. I think I got them all. Anyhow, so the copa, in my opinion, is the best muscle on the pig. Okay?
And why is that?
It's the extension of the loin. So here
Right.
you got, right here,
Right.
you got, go on this
The
side.
loin. Okay,
Here,
yeah.
here you've got the loin.
Yeah,
here
you can see it.
you got pork chops.
Yeah.
Okay? So I love pork chops.
Yeah.
But as it goes up, there's more connective tissue, more intramuscular fat. The more condition, I mean, fat
More
is flavor.
moisture.
Fat is flavor. Fat is our friend, and we love fat.
Yeah.
This is a mantra. I taught my children before they went to bed. You kneel and you say, "Fat is flavor, Daddy." I mean, so this is where, and then that's the flavor and everything. So there, that's the extension. This goes from the loin all the way up to the neck. They call it the collar also. So there's a seam right here, and when you butcher, you don't do sawing like this. You do deliberate, smooth cuts.
Okay.
The knife is not a saw; it's a blade. So you would go, follow it down, and look for that seam. This is just going to go right there. Now, this is an example of why I love it.
That's awesome.
That's beautiful,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now, in Germany and Austria, and you order schnitzel, it's not veal. A lot of times veal, but when it's pork, which is very common, they use this muscle. They would butterfly this and pound it, not thin like scallopini. It would be just a little bit, maybe 3/8 of an inch, quarter inch, like
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Breaded in, you know, of course, the controversy of fresh breadcrumbs are
Right.
panko
Or dry
crumbs.
bread.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
So
Or panko, yeah.
yeah, whatever.
Never
I do-
panko, though.
yeah.
I learned my lesson.
I do that though. But you know, or you tie this into nice medallions.
Yeah.
Now, when Roman and I were writing the salumi book, Italian, the craft of Italian curing, we went all over Italy working with. So in the north, by Biella, it's kind of like between France and Italy, that area. The charcuterie is a little bit different, and we were fortunate enough to, like friends like Bourdain and whatever, they hooked us up with people. It's not like we knocked on the door; they
Right.
opened us open arms. We were invited because of Roman's contacts, like Bourdain. So they said he wants to. So they would let us in the salumi shop, and in the north, this town of Biella, Mosca, we were butchering, and he says, capicola. You know, so I always called it copa, but he said capicola. And I'm a
Okay.
guest in the kitchen. I don't say,
Right, right.
Yeah, chef, you know, that's what I
Right.
said.
Yeah.
Then we go to Massimo Spigaroli, Alessandro Cuomo in Calabria, the south.
And this is all in Italy.
All in Italy.
Okay.
So we're in like Milan, north of Milan,
Okay,
and
yeah.
now we're at the toe of the boot,
Okay.
the heel of the boot in Calabria. And Alessandro Cuomo was the master, the maestro of salumi. And so I did a seminar there, blah, 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 and he cuts and says, Filetto.
So in Italy, there are different butchering
Same-
names or techniques or
Same thing, same
okay.
cut.
Okay. Different name.
North, capicola, south, filetto. And I
Okay.
said, yeah, chef. I didn't say, hey, he called you, didn't you?
Right, yeah.
But then I'm in Siena, and I got a good buddy there, Pino Di Cecco. He's the chef. He's got a beautiful restaurant. And he hooked me up with a guy in San Miniato, which is not far from there. So he's there, and I don't speak Italian. So this guy, Falaschi is his name, he cuts and he pulls it out as his copa. So I go, Pino, he speaks English. I said, Pino, why up in the north they say capicola, in the south, I mentioned the names of they're
Right.
very respected. They say the Safoletto, and here's copa. I've always known it as copa.
Right.
So he translates to this guy, and he translates back to Pino. Pino says, well, basically he said, in the north, in the south, they don't know shit. It's copa. So this is very versatile muscle, and it also is tender. You know, everybody thinks you got to
Yes.
grind it or You know?
Yeah, no.
There's connective tissue surrounding it. So
And you can roast that thing, crush it, roast it.
beautiful.
Yeah.
So we're going to use it for a grind. And the thing about sausage, we're going to make a sweet Italian sausage, and I'm going to make you dinner tonight.
So why, typically chefs, they'll use pork butts for pâtés, terrine, sausages. Why?
Because of the fat content.
It's
There's
a perfect fat cut.
It is. It's a nice.
About 33%.
30% is the norm. You know,
Okay.
and a good sausage, always remember 30% fat. So what does that mean? 3.5 pounds of lean meat, 1.5 pounds pure fat gives you a nice, beautiful ratio.
Yeah.
If your sausage doesn't have enough fat, you will, when it's cooked, it will be like sawdust. That's what it reminds me of. Crumbly, not it won't bind.
Right, yeah.
You know, so we're going to talk about basic grind method. The other thing to look for are glands. Glands are located in the fat, and not always.
Yeah.
But I'm certainly going to trim off all this fat, keep that. I want that fat. Keep this too. We're going to do 5 pounds. Because that's what all the recipes in that book are scaled to. So now, the other cardinal rule of making sausage. You dice your meat to the size necessary for the size grinder you have, okay? And then everything's got to be cold, cold, cold. So especially at home, when you're working in the kitchen, it might be warm in July or something like that. Always put it in the freezer on a single layer, like on a cookie sheet, a single layer, not to freeze it. You don't want to freeze it solid like like an ice cube. You want it to be crispy. The edges could be, kind of firm, but it's got to be cold. Now, why is it cold? Why is that important?
Well, when you have moving grinder, there's friction, metal.
So metal against metal is friction. Friction is heat. Heat is the enemy to our friend fat, because fat is flavor, fat is our friend, and we love fat, right?
And the heat will render the fat.
It will soften the fat. You will not have a good consistency or what we call definition of the sausage. When you cut the cross section of the sausage and you look at it, it should be all together. You don't want air pockets. You don't want, when you cook 5 pounds of sausage, you want to try to have 5 pounds of sausage left. If you don't get a good bind, when you cook it, the heat hits the fat renders out, and all the juices are gone. In the juices are the flavor, and you have pork bone. Oh, here, look, this is a gland right here. Is that a gland? Let me see. Yeah. See, it looks like muscle, but it's a gland. And glands, it's not that they're not edible, but they're bitter.
We're continuing our demonstration on pork, and since we're going to be grinding sausage, we want to talk a little about casings, because sausage stuffed in the casings, there's different sizes: lamb, pork, beef, middles.
Right. And the casings are the intestines of those animals.
Yes.
So the smaller the animal, the smaller diameter. It's like the small intestine on a lamb would be like breakfast sausage.
Exactly.
Small intestine on a hog would be like a sweet Italian sausage. Small intestine on beef is like a small salami. And then, how do you get those mortadellas that are this big? You think they're elephant?
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Tyrannosaurus Rex or like elephant, No, those are actually, they're hand-sewn casings. Okay. So they'll take the bladder of the beef animal, which is about this big around, or large, and they'll cut it and open a butterfly, cut another one and open a butterfly, and they'll sew them together and make a large, right? And they use cotton twine. So we're going to use hog casings. Hog casings come salted, they have salted and pre-flushed. Pre-flushed would be in like a brine solution.
Right.
Those just need to be rinsed so you can use them immediately.
Mm-hmm.
These are packed in salt, and you have to rinse them for at least 20 minutes to get them pliable. Now, packed in salt like this in the refrigerator lasts 1 year.
Okay.
Okay. You never, ever, 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 ever freeze. You're supposed to say ever.
Oh, ever.
Ever freeze casings. Freeze the casings.
And how come?
Freeze the casings breaks down like the molecular structure of the cell structure You know, and after you freeze them, thaw them out, and you stuff them, they always explode.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
And
that.
I think it's either when I was doing a demo, and I said I think you froze these casings, and the host chef said, no, I never froze them, but they kept breaking. I said, well, they must have been made in China. Okay, so we rinse. Just get now once they're rinsed, they will last 3 days in the refrigerator.
That's it?
That's
3
it.
days?
And that's it. Believe me, after 3 days,
Yeah.
everybody, every single one of you will know what to do with them after 3 days. Just smell them.
Yeah?
That's all it takes. That's my number, but you'll know what to do with them, which means throw them out. So what's important here is you rinse the residual salt off, usually tepid water, like just, like body temperature.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other important thing that many people forget to do is you rinse the interior. They slip on the tube really easy too. Like for larger casings, you run them and then you do you milk them. You have to do it like this. Yeah. But this one, just one time through because they're thin-walled casing. Now, natural casings are the intestines. They're edible. But these are considered thin-walled natural casings. So sheep and hog, small intestines, you can eat them. You get that snap or whatever like that. You get to the hog middles, they're natural casings, but they're thick-walled.
Okay.
Those that you have to peel those back. Usually for a cooked sauce, that cotechino, well, you could probably eat that one. But no, like a salami, a dried casing, you always peel it off.
Okay.
So we save these packed in salt.
So these are small intestines, the other ones are large. These are hog middles.
These are these are hog small intestines.
Small, okay.
Yeah, middles are about 3 inches.
Okay.
We rinse them, we let them soak so they're nice and lubricated and all the salt's removed and they're pliable. Now, how much casing do you need? Typically, sheep casing is 4 feet per pound. So 5 pounds would be 20 feet, definitely 20 feet. Hog casing is 2 feet per pound.
Wow.
Now, obviously, you fit more into hog casing, so it's a shorter distance for the same amount of weight.
Okay.
So so you don't over have to rinse. You can take a guess,
Right.
this is like they used to measure yard of material.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So another thing, we just make sure they're soaking. Once you've done it under the faucet that one time, you can do. I always, when we do the stuffing, you'll see that I do the same thing. I put water on the inside like this.
Okay.
So you go up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. You say it, up, down. Come on, say it, up, down.
Up, down, up, down, up, down.
You didn't have to say it. I just wondered if you would. And just run it through again. Water in the use water in the casing as a lubricant. Mm-hmm. So when it slides on easy, it slides off easy. Okay?
Hey, next week on Well Seasoned, watch part 2 of Brian's sausage making masterclass. And trust me, this is a masterclass. I have been making sausage my whole life, and I've picked up a lot of tips from this guy. This guy's a master and wrote the book on it. And by teaching it day in and day out for 20 years, this guy really knows his sausage.
Yeah, I like my sausage. You're going to see how important it is to keep things cold, the equipment and ingredients during the process, and you're going to find out your best friend is fat. Fat is going to be your best friend making sausage.